he was on the road going to Damascus to persecute Christians in that city, and talk about what really changed him.
Well, all of a sudden he was stopped dead in his tracks, and he heard this voice. He said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Saul thought, who are you, Lord? He said, I am Jesus whom you are persecuting. And in that instant, everything changed for Paul.
He saw
he
Jesus.
It was who Jesus was. In fact, the glory was so bright. It was a midday sun. If you've ever been to the Middle East in the midday, it's not only hot, the sun is unbearably brilliant in a clear sky with no haze on it. And Jesus' glory eclipsed the glory of the midday sun in the Middle East. You can imagine how bright it was. And he was struck almost blind. Like you and I look at the sun for a few seconds, we can't see anything. He was like that for 3 days until the scales fell from his eyes. He said, now the rest of my life is given to him.
Yeah, there's a part of that story too. He was blinded.
Yeah.
Okay, he went into the city, and God told one of his people to go over there, and that person didn't even want to go because he was afraid of Saul.
The only Paul they knew was he was going to kill me.
Right. But I find it very interesting, the message. God told him, I'm going to show him what he's going to do for me, but he also said, I'm going to show how much he's going to have to suffer for me.
Right.
So he gave him apostleship, but he said, you're also going to suffer greatly for me. And then he opened his eyes.
Yeah.
And then Paul immediately started to preach, okay? And he preached these facts of the creed that we were just talking about.
Right.
And then 3 years after that, he went up to see Jesus' own disciples,
right,
okay, and talked with them.
Right.
And that's where he says, whether it was I or they, we were all preaching the same thing about Jesus. He was the divine one. He was God, Son of God, who was crucified, dead, buried, and he rose from the dead.
And he wouldn't have been willing to suffer as he did if he hadn't encountered the risen Lord.
And that's why scholars say, with all of that background, he is one of the most credible witnesses you have in ancient history that Jesus rose from the dead. Otherwise, you can't explain what happened to this guy, Paul.
And you know what I found interesting in that interchange on that road to Damascus? He first asked Jesus, who are you? And Jesus said, I am Jesus of Nazareth. And then he said, what do you want me to do? All that he did came out of discovering who Jesus was. For him it was very important. Until we know who he is and get to know his heart, only then will we end up doing the things we do because we have met him. And I was just struck by that, the sequence of his question was, first of all, who are you? And then what do you want me to do?
All right.